Why the heck would anyone care about soil sampling in an ag economy like this? I actually think that soil sampling matters more when margins are tight. And I'll walk through why I think that is with an analogy, some agronomic theory, and an example of how this value actually gets created. To start with the analogy, an agronomist is an advisor, and soil samples are to an agronomic advisor like financial charts and indices are to an investment advisor. For an investment advisor, having reliable data is always important to perform at peak levels and lead the industry. But when the markets are tanking, that data becomes a matter of life and death to everyone. One bad trade from one flawed report and a lot of money can disappear. In the same way, now more than ever, one bad decision from one flawed sample can cost a farmer a lot of money. The agronomic basis for this is pretty straightforward. If we believe in the recommendation system, then our number one priority needs to be keeping every individual section of the field above the critical level. So we should cut back in specific areas that don't need it as much instead of cutting a blanket percentage, say 20% across the board. Digging in a little deeper, we want to cut back where there's more excess available nutrients. As those green bars start to get lower though, we run a higher risk of one of them dropping into the red zone because there's less fertilizer margin out there. Say in a normal year, we're aiming to bring a grid section up to a pH of 6.4, but we have an error in our sample results. We think that this area needs less lime than it actually does, so we only apply enough to bring it up to a 6.1. That's a missed opportunity. But say this year, we're cutting back and have our pH target set to just that 6.1 number. The same sampling error and reduction in lime rates would mean that we only apply enough to bring it up to 5.8. The agronomic impact from 5.8 to 6.1 is much stronger than it is from 6.1 to 6.4. So the agronomic impact of sampling errors and the agronomic value of sampling accurately both increase when we're trying to cut back on our overall rates. The same basic theory applies to P&K. Less margin means we've got to be more accurate. How do we actually capitalize on this better data? The good news is that the moment the good data gets into our system, our software-generated recs automatically become more accurate. But this is also helpful if we're doing a deep dive and working with a grower on a field-by-field basis. There's one grower in particular I'm thinking of, and we often don't work directly with growers at Rogo, but this guy's the exception and he's been with us since the beginning. As we've gone back and forth with him on products, rate, recommendation tweaks, and budget constraints, our soil sample data is always the bedrock source of truth. I don't think we could even have those conversations if we didn't both have a high level of trust in the soil data in my system. So what does all this mean? It means that our soil samples are important. The best way to improve the reliability of those samples is to use samples that are both recent and accurate. The point of our fertility program is to change that soil chemistry. So if that's happening, less recent samples or samples that are past the 3 or 4 year mark are getting much less reliable and will cause errors. Taking accurate samples, which our robot helps you do, also reduces that error. Accurate depths, quality cores, and sample locations are all really important aspects of that, and I've got videos on each of those on my website. I understand the need to reduce costs, but cutting back on soil sampling is often saving a dime to waste a dollar. The soil samples have a greater cost-cutting impact when used to create tangible efficiency gains in other areas, and that's why I think that soil sampling matters more in a tough economy. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.